I'm Martin Russ, author of Optimize the Moment, a guide to lead decisively, plan strategically, and communicate effectively. Welcome to my podcast.
Martin, you just got back from Washington, D.C. What would you like to talk about today?
Well, I think it's prudent to talk about strategic advisors, people like me. So why would a small or medium-sized or even a very large company hire someone like me?
Okay, let's make the business case for that.
I think there's a great business case for it, obviously. I talked to a lot of companies in the last week or two about hiring a strategic advisor and making the business case for it. There is, in this environment, a lot of angst and a lot of companies that are feeling unsettled. We've talked about this many times. We're coming kind of to the end of the calendar year. We made some predictions at the beginning of the year about how companies are feeling the need for change. CEOs were expecting to lose their jobs, and they have. We've seen a lot of turnover. We've seen a lot of turnover among CFOs. We've seen a lot of turnover, among the C-suite in general, but in business leaders. And that's created a lot of turnover among, companies in general. So companies are feeling this kind of unsettled nature. As a result, we're now seeing the new plans coming out. Let's try this, let's try that, let's throw something against the wall and see what will stick. So I've been talking to leaders in the last couple of weeks about maybe there's a different way. There's a better approach. And if what you want is a better business, let's have a better approach. So hiring a strategic advisor can really be beneficial. And the ways in which it can be beneficial, obviously I firmly believe there's a return on that investment. Let's take a moment and just kind of back up a step and maybe let's break that down. What do we mean by creating a better business? A healthier business overall probably means, being more efficient, being more focused on what success looks like.
Yeah.
Rarely does, a CEO or a president just define success for that business as dollars and cents. Not really. They just don't, right? A healthy company is one that has a long-term viability, is creative and innovative and has, a great team, but one that's efficient, right? Has the right team, isn't, have too many people. They just have the right number of people. They have the right, they're kind of, as the expression goes, they're rowing in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And they're not constantly kind of putting out fires, things like that. That doesn't happen by accident. Having a better business with the right legacy does not happen by default. It happens with a plan, and a plan that can actually be executed upon. So not the traditional kind of business plan or strategic plan that you kind of put on the shelf and forget about. I'm talking about the kind of plan that is, definable, actionable, measurable, and one that is informed by, I talk about intelligence gathering all the time, but something that poses the right questions in order to light that path. The business case is, result when you do that and you do that properly, you get, you reduce the time to impact. That impact is much greater, so the success is greater. It looks different, it feels different. People feel it differently. There's a different kind of sense of what the next goal and the next kind of purpose can be.
What you just said is very powerful. I think we could break this down into two tranches. One is SMEs, small to medium enterprises, and the other is a C-suite you talked about. Because that feeling different, talk to us about that.
So there are some companies that are getting it right, absolutely, and kudos to them, fantastic. There are some other organizations that still have a long way to go. There are characteristics of both. So I would say of the companies that still have a long way to go, they are mired in what I would call traditional business or transactional business. They're still looking for that next transactional kind of sale. Those transactional sales are, you know this, right? They're short-term in nature. There's no meaning behind them. Your customers really don't care. They don't care about you. You don't really care about them. All you care about is the transfer of cash for a particular good or sale. They will happen. And unfortunately, the businesses that rely on transactional sales are constantly having to fight for the next transactional sale. So, they're highly price sensitive. They're highly related to kind of the advertising spend, the marketing spend, and the margins, the profitability are, they're typically slim at the best of times, and they're getting slimmer. Organizations that have done a different kind of shift, have looked at things differently, even if they're in a business where there's a lot of commodities, have made the shift to what I would call a reputational sale, where what they do matters, how they do it matters, the people with whom they do it matters, and how they position themselves in the marketplace matters. So they're doing what I would call kind of a higher level reputational sale, even though they may be what they're selling involves or includes commodity items, goods and services.
So this speaks to your point that you often mention is retaining customers, retaining employees.
Yeah.
Much more efficient than trying to find the next one or turning people over.
Yeah. So retaining kind of the A team, right? The best of the best, the people who jump out of bed in the morning because they want to be there. They want to be part of a purpose, a cause, a mission. They understand and feel like they're part of something.
It's bringing the spreadsheet alive,
Yeah.
I think you can say.
Well, and
beyond what the numbers show.
We all want to feel like we're part of something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And driven by a purpose. And if they can get a sense of what that cause is and that reputation that matters. I mean, it can, lots of companies have really thrived and having tremendous success over the generations, because they have a reputation. Mm-hmm. And people want to be part of that reputation.
Yes.
Right? They wear it with pride. They wear their John Deere hat or their cap, their coats and things, and they wear that reputation with pride. Other organizations are focused on the transactional sale.
We all want to be a part of something.
Yeah.
So what you're saying really resonates. When you're wearing that cap, you're wearing that T-shirt. When you're out there doing a team thing together, whether it be in the office for the marketplace or outside of the office for the community.
But it doesn't happen by accident. There has to be a defined purpose, a defined mission. You have to get there together as a team, and that team has to be put together properly. And so often that really does, in order to get that impact, having a strategic advisor, somebody on the outside who can help see that path, get to that path, develop that impact better, faster, helps us create better businesses, better lives, better businesses, better people, faster.
I think the better lives has really come to the forefront. Would you agree that it's surfaced?
It's, there's lots of reasons, and we all have our personal stories, but certainly over the last 3 or 4 years through the pandemic, everything that we've all seen and lived through, having a goal of a better life for ourselves and what that means to us all individually, personally, is a very important goal.
It's interesting when you come to the end of a cycle. I feel that capitalism, materialism are two different things.
Yep.
And materialism was a big driver in the global marketplace, and it became exhausting. I mean, replacing things all the time, just having new stuff, the shiny things that you often talk about. It feels like we're coming back in and starting to look at the value, to measure what things mean to our personal lives, not the amount of stuff we have, but the quality of our lifestyle.
Yeah, there's a great line from one of my favorite songs that says, "Even the Joneses can't keep up with the Joneses." Right? But you know, if you know anyone who's a Freemason, you know, part of the appeal and purpose of being a Freemason is to challenge men to be better men. And so it sounds simple, but there are interesting. It is a fascinating journey for anybody who's interested. It challenges men to think about what their lives are like, and to think about what their lives are like once they're gone. So how do you want to be remembered? What's your legacy? How do you live your life in such a way so that, you know, the people around you, the people who you worked with, the people who were closest to you, and even the people that you touched perhaps minimally on a daily life, what's your legacy? How do they remember you? I think there are lessons in that for how we run our lives, how we run our businesses. What does a better business look like?
What does it look like? How would you advise someone? Let's get back to the C-suite now.
Yeah.
Because money and compensation has been there for a while. What's been missing, and what would you advise?
So I point to the book Optimize the Moment, but you know, spoiler alert, I'm working on book 2 and potentially book 3. But what I want to talk a lot about impact, and the people that I have had the pleasure of living, you know, in war zones and conflict zones and working with, and the impact that they've had, and how they have built better and had that impact, despite incredible challenges and obstacles in those moments. And there's no excuse. There's no reason why we can't have an impact. There's no reason why we can't build better, and you know, have that better kind of business, and reduce the time to impact, and surround ourselves with great people and great teams, and do good things.
And just to hit it home for the finer points, what are the benefits?
But obviously, the benefits are success as we measure them, right? Happiness and full lives, and you know, all of those things that we started with when we talked about you know, the people and the citizens that in our community, having a great community and taking care of each other, and you know, everybody rises when we do that. We earn a good living. We have a roof over our heads. We can take care of the most vulnerable in our societies. You know, with that wealth and that created wealth, then we can take care of our kids and our health and our family's health, and you know, then our community thrives.
Okay, so let's touch on some of those things you talked about. Productivity.
Yeah.
So how does this approach help with productivity?
So leaning in to having an impact is absolutely inspiring to people who, you know, otherwise, if they're left to kind of default, and we've seen this all around. I'm sure you know of examples, right? People who can't get off the couch, people who are, you know, sit around playing video games all day, or can't seem to find the motivation to go that next step, take a course, or you know, take the steps that they need to improve themselves or their lives or their family's lives. But if they see somebody who is leaning in to having an impact. Could be by volunteering. It could be by somebody at their church. It could be somebody at a company who is doing something inspiring, optimizing the moment. That's why I named the book what I did. We are surrounded, if we have our eyes open, we are surrounded by people who do optimize the moment, and they lean into, regardless of their circumstances, they step up and they do something quite remarkable. To not just get beyond their own circumstances, but to in fact lead others and do good things for their community, their church, their business. And in business circles, again, there's a lot of organizations that have a long way to go, but there are some individuals and some organizations that get it right. And when they do, they really thrive.
And it's also watching leaders in action for those aspirational leaders. I love what you're saying because it's taking it from the transactional to aspirational, and it's being a part of something.
Yeah.
So your job isn't the thing in itself. Like you were talking about being a part of something greater, a greater good that gives you a sense of belonging and also serves up all the basic needs you have, but adds an additional layer of value.
Absolutely. If all we do is focus on our basic needs, then that's all we'll ever achieve. If the people that I have witnessed and known and worked with, they didn't just ever focus on their basic needs. They focused on so much more, right? We've talked before about the importance of dreaming and having that dream to accomplish something so much greater. And when they focus on the dream, yeah, their basic needs get covered somehow. They do. And having those dreams and being surrounded by dreamers and motivated by dreams and dreamers, some of the greatest things get accomplished.
It's so true. It's almost contagious, isn't it?
It's absolutely contagious.
And I love it because when we think about how we value our existence and what we need to do in a business, beyond the business, there is something that has been lacking. Our generation coached our kids really well to have their CVs hit all the marks. Good universities, it's not good enough to have good marks anymore. I have family and friends whose kids are getting in the high 90s and they're not getting into the universities and colleges that they thought they would get into.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. I mean, if you got into the high 70s when I graduated, you were going to the university of your choice,
Yep.
and you paid your tuition through a summer job. Now they're having to deliver more. They come out with the burden of all of this. So we have a younger generation coming in. And I wonder if we, in a weird way, gave them too much instruction. We were too prescriptive on what to do.
Of course we were. And getting 90s is, part of the prescription, right? We've always been, too careful not to give out 70s. Why would teachers give out 70s? Because it's too harsh, right? We still are part of a society today that gives participation awards,
Sounds kind of empty.
And so everybody has to have a 90. So of course universities can't accept everybody because everybody's got 90s, high 80s and 90s. Like we don't live in a real world. When I went to school, if you wrote an average paper, you got an average mark. But that's not what happens today. People get exceptional marks because that's what everybody needs to get to university. Well, that's not real. That's not fair, and we've done a disservice to our kids and the next generation by doing so, by trying to pave the way for their success, and we've done them a disservice.
So what you're saying is successful business, cohesive community is going to bring the rewards and a lot more value. And if you apply that to your business model, you will reap the benefits.
Absolutely. And today, a lot of those businesses where people have done great things, they've created something, they've invented something, they've pulled the bits and pieces together, and they've now got a business where they deliver a good or a service. Now they need to go to the next level. So hiring strategic advisors, outside counsel, to pull them and maybe other partners together is really the wise thing to do.
That's where the magic happens.
Well, it can reduce the time to impact, help them create better businesses, and help that take to that next level.
Okay, so Martin, you talk about a lot of this in your book.
Yeah.
I think people would really benefit from reading it. Where can they get your book?
Optimize the Moment. It's available through Amazon and here in Canada at Indigo and at Barnes & Noble in the U.S. and Waterstones in the U.K.
And the other point I would like to say to people, because I've watched you provide strategic counsel to a lot of businesses in your career. You've been in the theater, in the military. You've been in the boardrooms of some of the most successful multinationals. You have coached Fortune 100 leaders, and you have advised a lot of SMEs. I think some people might be interested in reaching out to you to see where they can get to that next step. How do they do that?
Probably the easiest thing is through the website at martinrust.ca.
Okay, Martin. Thank you very much for sharing your insights. Can't wait to do it next time.
Thanks very much, Heather.